FM 90.
Spectrum wants to hear your views. You can SMS at any time during the show. Type Spectrum, leave a space, type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
Hello, a very warm welcome. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. My name is Edmond, Kizito, your host. Good evening. On Spectrum tonight, how can Ugandan children be protected from those bent on violating their rights? What are some of those historical and emerging issues that need to be addressed? Reports of abuse of children in different parts of the country continue to be registered each day, with many of those who are supposed to protect the children being among those perpetrating the vices. Uganda has registered many cases ranging from child sacrifice, defilement, corporal punishment, early marriages, and child abuse, child labor, abuse of adoption, among others. Experts in child development say that such abuses are dangerous to the growth of children, who at the end of the day are expected to be active citizens to move the nation forward. Some of the challenges noted above are perpetuated by many circumstances, but many say that the family moral fiber has broken down and even the community has abandoned its past duty of bringing up children collectively. Senior citizens who decry the abuses against children say that many parents are forgetting their responsibilities and are taken up by the fast-moving and challenging world. Our task on Spectrum tonight is to look at the child protection concerns in Uganda today as we borrow a leaf from past mechanisms or measures which were undertaken to protect children. Our guests tonight, Mrs. Stella Odong, Executive Director of the Uganda Child's Rights NGO Network. You're most welcome, Mrs. Stella Odong.
Thank you. Good evening, listeners.
We're also joined by Assistant Superintendent of Police Elizabeth Nakanda, Regional Child and Family Protection Officer, Central Eastern Region from the Ugandan Police. Uganda, you're most welcome, Madam Nakanda.
Thank you. Good evening, listeners.
Stella, how widespread is child abuse in this country today?
Child abuse is very, very widespread, and the forms of abuse are varied. It ranges, as you raised in your opening communication, it ranges from child sexual abuse, defilement, commercial sexual exploitation of children, child labor, adoption, and it is not specific to a region, but it covers the whole country, that children now are at risk of abuse, and therefore we need to put in place measures to guarantee their protection. When you look at statistics, if you look at our population, we have the youngest population. About 56% of Uganda's children Uganda's population is composed of children. Now, if you look at 56%, about 20% of that 56% are children that are at risk of abuse or have even been abused themselves. We, as an organization, working with our member organizations like AMCAN and other agencies, have carried out research and documented cases of abuse that are quite shocking in terms of statistics.
And what kind of abuses do you normally document?
The highest, the one that tops the list has been defilement. We did a review of reports of cases that have come through the police, and we did in about 12 districts, and defilement still tops the list with about 7,690 cases of children that have experienced defilement in the 12 districts alone. Child neglect comes to about 8,000. It's about 40% of the cases that are looked at. Child abduction and stealing and kidnapping range about 1,700 children that have experienced that kind of abuse. But the sad thing with the cases of defilement is that the perpetrators and those that met abuse against children are those that are closely known to them. We're talking about fathers, we're talking about uncles, we're talking about close relatives that take advantage of these children.
Explain that to us.
A number of the cases that have come, maybe just to give a bit of background, two of our members run a child helpline that was allocated by Uganda Telecom, and I want to say thank you to Uganda Telecom. Allocated toll-free telephone helplines through which children are able to report cases. Children at risk of abuse are able to report cases. A number of those cases, about 70% of the cases that come through the helpline are cases of defilement. And when you go further, you find that it's an uncle, it's a cousin, it's a father that are actually defiled or sexually assaulted these children. Many of them fall prey because they, like the uncles and so on, the children are usually orphans and are living with this uncle, and therefore, in exchange for the favors, they call them favors, then the children have to succumb to sexual advances from the uncles. I cannot explain why a father would sexually assault the daughter, but we have cases of parents that have actually, fathers that have actually said.
We'll talk about, I mean, it feels surreal, but maybe some of us live in another world and we have to really break the shell and get, understand what's going on. Madam Nakanda, talk to us about your experience. Are these some of these, things that you would agree with? Do you experience them?
Those are real. They are real because, as she said, most of the reports are good from us. We are handling those cases physically. And some children who listen to us on radio, they normally come and report. But the fear is, some of them, she says, my mother left the home, or I lost my father and my mother, I'm with the uncle, and every time I go back home for holidays, this is what he does. Actually, some of the children don't do well in class because when she's almost going for holidays, she imagines what she's going to go through. At least I have ever handled about 6 cases where real fathers have done it. And one of them used to come and report to me when I was in Kawempe. The father used to report she doesn't want to eat food, she doesn't want to eat portion, she doesn't want to do work. Then at one time I told the man that, why don't you call me the stepmother? Come along with the stepmother next time you come here to report with this girl. So they come. As the girl was explaining, she said, Madam Nakanda, this time let me tell you the truth. She said, as we leave this place always, my father takes me. As we reach Matuga, the man stops the vehicle. He breaks the seat, and he says, my mother used to be a nice woman and I look like her. So this is what he had said, that I have to continue with what I used to do with your mother. So the girl runs out of the vehicle, she runs back to Kawempe police station and says, Madam, this is what I've gone through. I don't know, why didn't you tell me a long time ago? She said, when I used to come and I was looking for ways of getting you closer, my father could not allow me. Actually, when those people who are the real closely grandparents come, they don't want to give you time to talk with this girl. Every other time they come, he protects her, he doesn't even allow her to talk to you. Then later we found out that we need to talk to these children alone. So the girl disclosed and said, I have fought. I ended up calling one of the aunties to this girl. Then I handed over the girl to the parents, to the auntie, because the mother died. Then another girl used just to go to bed, like these are the normal bathrooms. Whenever the girl goes to bed, the father looks up. Then the girl says, oh, Daddy, you are looking at me. He says, what's wrong with it? The girl said, no, you are not supposed to look at me. So at one time I was on Star Radio. So the girl comes. When I was saying, some of you take care of yourselves. Even the person you think is your father can do harm to you. So the girl comes, I called the father, and the father said, this girl is just running mad. I was just passing by. The girl said, not once, not 2 times, but many times. And why? When I'm going to birth, that's when you pass around. The man also admitted that I had been attracted. This girl is so good, and I imagine somewhere other person to take care of her. And she falls and saw somebody's hands. That's why I was saying I love her. So these children have a lot to go through. First of all, they are told, if I hear anything, I'll kill you. Then one of the girls, I took trouble to go and investigate. Actually, first lady called me to go and investigate that case. So the girl remained with the father. The father was an army man. So the girl told me that during holidays, this man must force me with him. I have aborted more than enough. So at one time she was talking to the girls of the media. Now these girls got interested and they said, which policewoman do we look for? Then I got into those girls. I imagine go to school. She failed to talk anything. And I said, okay, if you have refused to talk, it's okay. Another time I went when I was not in uniform. Then as if I became a friend or something, like somebody saying some around. Then I was looking at that closer, I talked, I said, to you though you talk and whatever. I go through a lot of trouble. Don't think about my performance. I'm just worried of my father. Every other time I get pregnant, I abort when I'm coming back to school. And he said, should I say anything, that will be the end of me. These children who are being abused are going through a lot of torture. These are the people whom they left them with, like surely a guardian. Then there was again another small girl in Tinder. Some friend of mine called me and said, there is a girl, the father is HIV positive, this girl is in P7, but she says, the father has been telling her that, I'm waiting for you to grow. Then the girl said, like, grow? I wanted to ask the father that, I grow for what? He said, you know what women do? So they called me, I went, I just talked to the man, I said, but you shouldn't say this. We might look for the aunties. We always look for solutions. Actually, we urge these children to tell us early enough. If there is anything, let them confide in us. And these toll-free lines have also been very helpful. Because some of the children use them and they call you, and you have to keep it as a secret. Because she says, the moment you know, do not pay my school fees. So you have to do it as a mother, because we are mothers, we have daughters. Imagine if I died, is this how the father would treat my children? And you really go stealthily, you talk to the children. Sometimes we even go to the schools and tell the teachers to protect our children. Then you look for ways of talking to the father or to the uncle. And you look for the father and the uncles, they always give a negative attitude. I can do that. You police, what is happening to you? You think I can do that? But they can't do it. And they're always doing it.
No, I know. They do it.
They do it.
I mean, I have to pull myself together to really continue this discussion.
Yes,
so you're talking to me about what kind of men do this? Would they be drunk? Would they be on drugs? Are they poor? Are they rich?
We are not talking about the poor. We are not talking about anybody outside. Like we're talking about people like you and me, the affluent. We are talking about those who should know what to do.
Actually, they know.
They know because they know the law. They know everything, and they make sure that these children do not report. And that is why we actually introduced the toll-free helpline, because children at times cannot report these cases because it is the father who is assaulting them, as you've heard from the testimonies. And the toll-free helpline has given them access to report. And on the other side of the line, we get counselors that reach out to them, that talk to them. There are times when we have to rescue these children, and the children get to get rescued. About a week ago, we were having a training of parliamentarians, and in the training we had a case study of a child whom we lost in Kawempe. Again, a case of abuse. The child suffered multiple abuse. She was initially abused by the father. Then they moved her to the grandmother's place. The grandfather also sexually abused her. And she,
the biological stepfather started it.
Yeah,
they took her to the grandmother, the grandfather.
The same. She passed away. She's about 9 years old. She passed away last week, the week of 15. She passed away.
The child was 9 years old.
Yeah, the child.
And they were abused by the biological father.
By the biological father. Now, many cases, those are cases that get the attention of the day.
The world coming to an end of it. A 9-year-old being assaulted by their father?
The cases, there are cases that are not reported. What we are talking about are those that actually get through the helplines and those that get to the police. But there are a number of these cases that don't get reported. And that is why platforms like this, we use them as avenues to reach out to the community. The child abuse is dangerous. Sexual violence against children does not only affect you, but also affects the other siblings. And if you know of a case, if you have learned of a community, or you know of a parent who is doing that, please report, because this child will never live the same. The child that we lost ended up dying because she had a problem, a complication. She could not hold her stool, she could not hold her urine, and she passed away out of infection.
You're talking to me earlier off the record before we came on air about a school that you partner with. Can you talk to us about that on the record?
Yeah, the schools, I'll not mention the name of the school for reasons that are known, but they're schools. We're talking about the big schools. Name any of the big schools. Their parents and fathers. The
so-called first world schools.
First world schools, the top schools. I'll just name within a range of many. We have Gayaza High School, we have Namagunga, we have King's College Budo, we have Seta High, we have Namugongo SS, the top schools, top of the range schools where the families take their children to. But we have cases of parents
in those kind of schools.
In those kind of schools, actually fathers who actually are sexually abusing their children.
What kind of percentages? 1, 2, 3?
I think from the girls that we've reached out to, I think we have cases of in one school you can get a case of more than 10 girls.
10 girls in one school. So it's prevalent. It's widespread.
It's widespread.
Talk to us about the past. Let's look at that trend. What used to happen? Are these things that happened before, or are they just happening now?
Well, I would not. Well, they've been there. Maybe in
the past, you would know. In the village, if it's happening, you would know. Without the radio, you would know about it because there was community policing of children, community, raising.
Couldn't do that.
Talk to us about your own experience about the past.
At least in the past, nothing could have happened. Although we didn't have a lot of media spreading information and whatever. Because for us, how we grew. Honestly, your grandfather was your grandfather. Your father was your father. You were your one. And we were so close. I would give my example because I'm the firstborn. My father liked me so much. My grandfather used to be with him. But nothing of the nature happened. But these days, when you get a child, the child says that he says he's jealous about me, he doesn't want me to associate with any boy. Then the child says, my father says he doesn't want to associate with any other man, but he wants to be my friend. And us, the parents.
Well, the father is supposed to be a protective friend.
That is
he doesn't want anybody to touch this girl because he's going to use her.
I think so.
That is bizarre. I mean, on a child's wedding day, the father walks the girl and hands her over.
He doesn't mind, but the girl herself will just say that I'm happy and maybe I've gone in some hands. But as I learned psychology, some of these girls who grow up and get married and they don't enjoy their sex partners with their husbands, these girls were defiled, these girls were, they were damaged. Because some of them are damaged and they happen to go to the hospital. But those who don't know anything, she will be torn apart. And by the time you realize, she would have lost interest totally. And those are the cases we normally get. Because when she comes to you, she says, I don't have interest in sex. The man disturbs me. Then, the fact that some of us actually, I took psychology in Makerere University, I sit down with a few people who come to me. I find out what is it. Like some girls who are aggressive. Most of the women who are aggressive, they grew up in such a manner. The parent abused her, so she has nobody she respects. And even this marriage we are talking about, it will just be a ceremony, but it will not be in her heart that I'm getting married because she lost it up. She would have enjoyed herself with somebody because she will go. But those are some of the
a certain part of her died.
In the marriage. It does. Those are the impacts that we're talking about long-term impact of such violence against children. That it continues late in life. They begin to manifest when the people are adults. It begins to manifest when they have their own families. And that is why at times the cases of fathers who molest their daughters or mothers who molest their sons or even fathers who molest their sons, if you dig back in the history, you find that they themselves were abused and they were not helped out of their situation, and therefore they now act out that onto their children.
Let's try to understand the time. You say in the past it was not prevalent.
Because at one time, because when we talk about community policy, you were given a car, you go to the villages, you spend almost a week, you meet so many groups of people. So at one time, I had a group of women in Mwerere, that's Kawimbi. The woman opens up, she says, my husband had a case, but he went to the witch doctor and he was told that I should go with my daughter. So he tells the wife, tonight I have sleep with so and so. And the woman says, what? The witch doctor said, if I don't sleep with her, they are going to imprison me and I might die in prison. So the woman says, it's okay. When the man calls the daughter, the girl runs out. She refuses concrete and she goes to the grandmother. The man says, I'm not going to pay your school fees, you're a bad child, you have no manners. That one passes. That girl was 16 years, the first daughter. Then another time after 2 years, the man again on the second girl, 14 years. The man said it's the same story. And this woman was giving in. I said, but how would you look at your child having slept with the father the whole night and then tomorrow
No.
also go in the same bed? Then she had agreed on the second child. Then the second child also, when she saw the man, the father was coming closer, this time they didn't tell her, they just wanted to grab her. The girl runs against the grandmother. This is the time I went to the grandmother and asked her, could you still be living with such a man? I told the woman, could you be still staying with this man? She said, I mean, I have nowhere to go. Then I told them that this is wrong. This is incest in the first place. And the father, when I looked for the man, looked at the man, I talked to the man, and he said the woman was just deceiving. He said this woman is mad. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
How do we get out of this trap?
No, they do.
I don't even know what
They do. It is sort of an easy way. They get away so easily. I mean, they'll just say the girl is lying, and it is their word against the child.
And
Now-
most of the women, our women who are in the villages, they cannot do anything. Can you imagine even the deferment cases we are talking about? For them, they just negotiate. Failure to reach a compromise, that's when they will come to police. When even the evidence we would need is already washed away.
The other
Because they can even come report a case after 2 years. When she's now, they are reporting the case, but it's going to change.
I think the biggest challenge we also have is the socialization, the way that society has socialized both women and men.
Let's try to understand that.
And you know, a child is taught in the traditional family to respect an adult. You are not allowed to say anything against an adult.
Right.
You are not allowed to ask questions or to even mention that your uncle, for example, is sexually molesting you, or your father is doing that. When you do that, that is an abomination. So families have grown up. Once it is in the family, the mother will not even report it. We've had cases that have been lost because the mother says, if I report this case, what will happen? He is the breadwinner. And at times, sorry, Afande, because at times it is at the police station that the cases are lost. The lady comes to report, and then the police officer at the counter says, what is wrong with you? You think you're going to report your husband, who is going to begin buying food for you? Go back, settle this case at home. So it's a lot of players that we need to educate. We need to start from the community, we need to go to the police, we need to go to the health centers and see how we can conscientize people to begin positively managing cases of abuse. That it's not...
But of recent, since we began this family office, because I was the pilot student on this, how family protection office came into existence, well, with Madame Mariette Praiven,
I know.
She was our in charge. We have taken note. We even clearly tell them that at the counter in our absence, should a case happen, we need it. There is a big difference between us handling the deferment case, because after handling it, because it is a capital offense, child is also coming. But much as the child is would handle, the family protection officer must be following the case throughout. Because as we talk now, the children are listening. Because we tell them that report, get away of reporting. Actually, when we give them our numbers, they can even tell others to ring. Like we are talking about those first schools, girl scholars. She calls and she says, I'm such and such in such a place. And for us, we shall see how we shall go there. We can remove these uniforms, although I'm badly marked. Everybody knows it.
Many people know you already.
Whoever says it is a family matter.
I think the other thing that we are advocating for is to have child-friendly environment in the police, where the police and even in the judicial system, where they are dressed in normal wear, casual wear, so the children can freely report and they have confidence. At times the uniforms actually put them off.
They can intimidate them.
Since we began, this office has been in existence for 17 years. Children have caught up with us because they even call you Senga, because we always want to be private with them. You know, at one time we were even advocating that we should have these children's cases in privacy, in chambers,
cameras.
So that those children should not be embarrassed, as you know. The man who rapes this child, I mean, will not spare this child even when they're in court. He will say, did you enjoy? The girl will break down and cry.
This is Patrick on Radio 1. Let's go for a break. We'll be back to stay tuned. Jesus.
Discover the new invigorating
exhilarating taste of red vodka lemon. Red vodka lemon. Reinvent the night. Not for sale to persons under 18.
Welcome to the MTN Service Center, sir.
Hey.
How can I help you?
We are here to buy MTN SIM cards.
Okay.
Meet my wife and my daughter and my son. This is my father, my mother and my cousin Sylvie.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Hey, I need even for my aunt piece. Come close, aunt piece. Behind her is my mechanic and my newspaper vendor and my boss and the pastor.
Okay, sir.
This Christmas, buy an MTN SIM card to win free airtime for a year. Dial *188# to win. 250 winners will immediately be notified on SMS each day. Win free airtime for a year with MTN this Christmas. Terms and conditions apply.
And of course there is my brother, my electrician, my plumber, and my baba's best friend's girlfriend.
MTN. Everywhere you go.
Excuse me, guys. Let me through, please.
Yes.
What? Chick biscuit? Goodness, dude, what are you doing? Get real. Just move. Just what? A little bit. Man, what are you doing bringing a cow into the sitting room? It's just for when I want milk. Just what? Just please move. Let it come and sit here.
Show me this guy.
You cannot keep a cow in your home, but you can get the freshness of its milk straight from the farm into your home. Get Fresh Diary milk for freshness straight from the farm every day. Fresh Diary, so fresh.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Welcome back on Spectrum tonight. How can Ugandan children be protected from those bent on violating their rights? What are some of those historical and emerging issues that need to be addressed? Our guests tonight, Mrs. Stella Odong, Executive Director of the Uganda Children's NGO Network, and Assistant Superintendent of Police, Elizabeth Nakanda, Regional Child and Family Protection Officer, Central Eastern Region in the Ugandan Police. Now, one of the senior citizens who passionately speaks about family issues and challenges children are facing today is the outgoing Archbishop of the Church of Uganda. At the Toro Kingdom Royal Wedding, he spoke about the value of families to children and how Uganda is heading to a danger zone because of how children and families are shaping up. Let's hear his views and then we react to them.
We stand strong when the family is strong. Today, the family is under massive attack. When the family fiber is lost, the nation is lost, the church is lost. When the family is strong, the nation is strong, the church is strong, the community is strong. I want to speak to men. I am so burdened by women who no longer see their husbands because the man is not there. He leaves home at 6 in the morning, he comes home at 2 a.m. in the morning. I have met young people, because I'm a youth worker, who do not see their parents at all. Parents are too busy. Parents are working in and day out, and they are saying, we want it for the welfare of our children. Listen, the welfare of your children will depend on your impartation and your presence with your children. Must it be the yaya to teach your child? No. But if I lose that moment to influence my son, I have lost it forever. And today we have got children who are orphans, and yet their parents are there. We are heading to a time when families will disintegrate, when eating together has become a problem. The freeze is there, the guy comes, he picks from the freeze, the boy comes, he picks from the freeze, the girl comes and picks from the freeze. And you can never sit together as a family to talk family issues. If you sit together, there is a TV there, and the TV is a commander that can never be disobeyed. You all pay attention to that.
Archbishop Henry Luke Orombi from the Church of Uganda. He was speaking at the Toro Royal Kingdom wedding. I would like us to talk about other forms of child abuse, but would you like to talk about some of the points that he made, very, very briefly?
I think I agree entirely with the Archbishop. I think he mentions
the television mentors,
the maids that have now replaced our roles as parents, our time being too busy to even find time for the children, too busy to find time to even talk to them. You wake up in the morning, and the next time you're coming home is in the evening. You do not know what your child has gone through. You do not know what the day has been like, and we don't even bother to ask. We are too busy, and I keep saying we are engaged in extramarital affairs. Right now, instead of, and I know I'm culprit today because Edmond is holding me in the studio. I should be at home with my 9-year-old
Well, it's only once in 365 days, probably.
But still, you know, the thing is that the busy schedules, we have replaced the family morals and values and given the TVs to mentor the children, the maids to mentor the children. But do you actually know what the maid is teaching your child? Do you actually know what values they're picking? They don't. Nobody cares. What are we doing 24/7? Even when you get back home, the laptop, the iPad. We know we carry the office. We actually leave the office environment, but come back to the office in the house. And then we have these absentee parents. I mean, I know that we're all busy and all, but the absentee parents, they are never there to drop the girls or the children back at school. They're never there to pick them up, and then they send the drivers to pick them. I keep telling them when I give parenting talks.
And you open them up to the driver.
I keep telling them when I give parenting talks, you give the devil a foot, he'll take a mile. Give the driver access to your child, you do not know what they will do. What is it so hard for you to find time for your child?
In the morning.
In the morning, and take them to the school, pick them out from the school. But because we are all endowed with all these privileges, we have 12 drivers at our disposal. What do we do?
Let's talk about other forms of child abuse, Madam Nakanda. When you talk about child abuse, we've spoken about child defilement, sexual abuse, and so on, incest. Let's talk about other forms of child abuse, child labor. Talk to us about some.
Child labor has also destroyed our children, because most of the children who would be at school are the children that are brought in our homes to look after our children. You know, at one time she also thinks, but I wish I had my parents. I wish my parents had money. I would be at school. Then in her teaching these children, actually when you look at our children these days, most of the children are aggressive.
Yes.
Because the way this person who is looking after them came, she imagines all sorts of things, just like any other person would think. So what she does, she also prepares whatever she prepares, she gives and she gives. Just because as the parents we are afraid to look after our children, we don't have time for them. Sincere as Mr. Odong has said, surely you leave at 6, you come back at 2 a.m. When we ever talk to
you don't have time.
And it is just a habit. I would mention most of the men. After office, drinking.
They go to cement and other places.
And that's all. You know, he disorganizes you as the wife. You will not see him because you want him. He's not there for you. Neither is he there for your children. So you also, in your own capacity, you get annoyed even with the children. After other women start abusing their children because the man is not there. These children are innocent.
The women get stressed.
You brought them on earth. These children wouldn't ask you, but money bring me. If this one we are going to do what? To treat them through. Just like the men do. So, if we talk about all that, we end up employing girls who are doing
underage.
And if they come, those men you are looking at will end up with the house girls. Even the women, some of the
Explain that better for us. Child labor, gone.
So what happens? The moment the man comes back when you're not in your mood, the man can't waste a girl. I mean, a man, as long as this person is in a figure of a female, he'll resort to that one. Most of the house girls tell us many things. And when she gets pregnant, the housewife and house starts saying, who did it? This girl has been running up and down with borders and whatever. The man even drives you to the office.
The house.
It is in-house.
The man drives you to the office, he comes back to the house girl. And these girls look very nice and appetizing.
The man drives you, the wife, to the office.
And comes back home.
Comes back home, forgotten some files.
I had a case where a woman was pregnant. Now she has to leave because now she's pregnant. I don't know who made her pregnant. The man said no. This girl has been looking after these children well. She has to stay.
Give birth to the child.
Give birth to the child.
And you have to look after her. She has been looking after her children. You don't have time for them.
And the child looks like dad in the home. Talk to us.
I mean, child labor. I mean, we are not only talking children under
child sacrifice, early marriages, abuse of adoption.
Early marriages, adoption, child trafficking.
Child trafficking.
Uganda has been classified by the UN under Tier 2. Tier 2 means that Uganda is a transit country, Uganda is a supply country, and Uganda is a demand country for trafficking. Now, the victims of trafficking, those that are most vulnerable to trafficking, are children. I know that Parliament did very well in passing the legislation, an anti-trafficking in persons bill that became law in 2009, and the unit that has become operational in the Ministry of Internal Affairs, but issues of trafficking is still high. That Uganda still tops the list in terms of countries where trafficking is persistent. Children are still victims of trafficking. Now, there is also a very thin line between trafficking and inter-country adoption.
Inter-country adoption.
Inter-country adoption is a huge challenge for Uganda. Recently, in a conference in May, they released a report which shows that Uganda comes second in terms of inter-country adoption. We come second. If you look at the statistics in terms of children that have been adopted.
Let's try to understand that. Why exactly do you mean by inter-country adoption?
Inter-country adoption is that children who are adopted by guardians or adoptive parents that are not Ugandans, that take them abroad. And in the list of
child export kind.
Sort of child export. In the list of those countries that actually check out children, the highest. We are second as a sending country, second in Africa, second to Ethiopia. But we are
in the entire world.
Yeah,
Uganda is number two.
Number two in Africa. After Ethiopia. And then in terms of the receiving countries, the US is topping the list. Now, in May, when that report was released, we want to appreciate countries that have actually stopped inter-country adoption from Uganda because of the statistics that was scary. What happens is that under the Children's Act, the law is very clear on the procedures for adoption. It explicitly states period of fostering being three years before a child can leave this country. What has happened now is that those who are adoption agencies are using the guardianship order, which is a loophole in the law, the guardianship order, to allow children leave the country. And on a minimum, you can have more than about 200. Last year alone, we had over 600 children that have left the country.
And probably when they're exported, to use the word, what happens to them when they go?
Nobody knows. And that now brings me to the point which government needs to ratify the Hague Convention.
The Hague Convention.
On inter-country adoption, because by ratifying the Hague Convention, it will permit to the government of Uganda to follow up these cases, to know what happens to the children, to get reports from those countries. Right now, the children are going, the children are slipping through the cracks, and we do not see that. Two, what we need to do is to promote alternative care model. Okay. The alternative care framework has been developed by the ministry, which prioritizes internal fostering. That Ugandans should be encouraged to
do it internally. In the past, it was the family, the uncle, and so on. Let's talk about child sacrifice, Madam Nakanda. People sacrifice children to get wealth. We've heard about that. To break out of the cycle of poverty. Does it work? Is it prevalent? Is it common?
Actually, it is very, very common too. Because when we talk about child sacrifice, most of the people who are still thinking backward in witchcraft, these are the people who are carrying these children to sacrifices. Because I would only call upon people just to remember that the God who created us needs all of us alive. But in the cases we have handled, most of them are taking these children just for their buildings, like a Kajuvi. Most of the children that have been sacrificed are taken in such a manner, nothing more. But
they shed the blood in the foundation of the building.
That's the most thing that they do. Then other children who would be sacrificed, sometimes when they are dealing with witchcraft itself, they don't mind losing their children. He says they call it Amayende Gansari.
People sacrifice their own children. Well, I mean, now it's easy to believe. If a man can sleep with his own daughter,
I mean, you have to believe it.
That kind of mind will do a lot of other things.
Because when a woman complained, she said the man came and said he wanted the child to go to the auntie.
Okay.
So we would even say that during holidays like it is now, there's no reason why you give your child to somebody else, even if it is an aunt, even if it's an uncle.
All right.
Some of you who would think I'm poor, I'm sending my child because they would buy you a dress.
You're better off looking after it. Stick with it.
Home because I don't trust. Personally, I told one time I was on a TV program, I said, I don't give anybody my child, even my sister who follows me, I can't. Because I know what has been going through in our offices. If that child is taken with an aunt or an uncle, if he himself doesn't might defile the child or abuse the child. You drag this child somewhere else and they will sacrifice the child, and then say the child got lost. The child told us she was coming back.
Wow.
We would imagine somebody with 12 years and above
Could find their way home.
From Kawempe to Zambia, the child would have reached. When he has killed your child,
Oh my God.
and I mean you get annoyed, but
It's finished. It's done. Let's talk about defilement a little bit. Some people used to say that if you have AIDS, it was a myth. If you have AIDS, you sleep with a virgin, you'll get healed of AIDS. Does it work?
Has
it ever worked?
Edmond,
Did it work those days and it stopped
Not
working?
even.
not in a single day.
How? Tell me, scientifically speaking.
Well, they shed blood in the foundation, so there might be something hidden. You sleep with a virgin, your AIDS goes away.
I know that is the myth that was around HIV/AIDS, and that is why a lot
For a long time.
For a long time. But what we want to assert is that it doesn't happen. It does not work. You have your HIV/AIDS. It doesn't cure HIV/AIDS from you. It is in your blood. It is in your system. Having sexual engagement with a young person will not change your status.
So I better go for ARVs.
You're better off going for ARVs, and also ensure that you don't attract additional infection, and two, that you do not
spread it.
Infection. I think that is critical.
The last 2 weeks I was
Sleeping with a virgin does not cure AIDS.
It will not. It cannot. It will not. It will never cure AIDS.
Like last week I had. Last week, but when I had, when I went to where I found out that most of the girls are getting pregnant at the age of 11, 12, 13.
In where? In this day of UPE.
So what happened? I said, now what do I do? I said, I have to get up and sensitize the students. So I came to Ministry of Internal, Ministry of Gender, talked to the PS. Definitely I gave in a document requesting for her help with the youth track. We went to Wales. I went to most of the places in the world. At least I reached at least about 20 stations where we stayed and took the children. After the children also said they don't have anybody to look after them. The parents have left them.
But 11 years old, the body is not even ready. Psychologically, she's still a child.
That's why they are dying when they are taken to the hospital. So at one time, one lady told me that she was in a hospital, so she had gone to attend to her mom. Got a girl of 13 years, she was pregnant. The doctors examined her and they said she cannot give birth. Either she dies or something. The girl cried throughout. She cried throughout. So now I was in certain schools where I reached, and then as I came in, I said, now I have come to find out how many girls are pregnant and the rest of it. Then the teachers were saying, Madam, we are sorry. There are 4 girls who are pregnant in senior 4 and 1 in senior 6. Because I told them that I know you have 68 girls who are pregnant.
You have the data. And is that true? 68 children in one
teenage pregnancy
in one school or one village?
in Uganda.
It's then one of the teachers that had prepared, because she knew we were going there. She said, I know that lady, she will come here, and I let me have this book. If there is anybody who told us that we will stop teaching women who are pregnant. Now, when he talked, I said
they did something that you did not know.
I said, if you were a father, can you really embrace your child? 13 years she's pregnant.
Let's hear from the listeners. This is Spectrum on Radio 1 tonight. How can Ugandan children be protected from those bent on violating their rights, and what are some of those historical and emerging issues that need to be addressed? You can call in now. Our number is 0414 348 111, 0312 260390, 0312 261390. And you call in, please tell us your name and your address. Spectrum, hello.
Hello.
Good evening.
Thank you very much for bringing us this good. First of all, I think you should have given us a disclaimer, because some of us are now fixed to the stomach, and I have been watching the horror movie. Maybe we'll get nightmares. But my question I have for that lady.
Your name, my friend?
My name is Paul.
Paul, well.
Question I have for the lady is, how would you deal psychologically? Maybe that this is one of the men who abuse us. And there is specific trends or appearances or whether he behaves that can indicate to you that this is the child that is on.
That's a very interesting question. Spectrum, hello.
Hello.
Yes. Yes, sir. That's a very. Can you repeat your question, my friend? Okay. Spectrum, hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. Your name?
This is Steven.
Yes, Steven.
That is a very important topic you're discussing. But the ladies are making it seem like that it's only men who are involved in physical acts. Don't you think that even women are doing it? So in that case, maybe we needed a man on one side and another lady on the other side. That is my position.
Spectrum, hello? Yes, please.
Hello?
Hello, your name, my friend? You're live on Spectrum.
Yeah, my name is Jeffrey.
Yes, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I'm after for the radio program. And my concern on this issue is really, those ladies, they are trying to heal or treat the symptoms, but they have not gone to causes. And to me, I think the big causes, more of this thing goes away. The problem is common with people who know what to do at this stage. But I think the cause of this problem is rooted somewhere which is not related to what we are talking about now.
What?
This problem
Yes.
is rooted in indifference, and people have taken it as the way of understanding and modernization. Indifference is very common in well-to-do families. They dress like they wish. And the devil cannot spare this man who is within this house. The devil wants him. And for that reason, when the daughter is indifferent, showing the bra, showing the knickers, this man, in one way or another, so long as the devil is asleep, he will fall the victim.
Spectrum, hello?
Hello, good evening. My name is
Yes, William.
concerned about self-sacrifice. But I'm wondering what big organizations like Save the Children and UNICEF are doing about it. They've never said anything. They don't get involved in hiring lawyers or things like that. They are completely quiet.
Spectrum, hello?
Hello.
Yes, your name?
Hello, I'm
Yes, Mr. Ruku. Okay. Let's take a final caller. Spectrum, hello? Yes, your name? Yes, that is.
I have so many children for victims. Some of them were being abused by parents. I'm singles themselves. I got some of them from police. One of the girls was on the street. I did sexual abuse by the uncle. I want to get in touch with them and maybe I can have support because I'm a child activist. No one rights, but I really need people else I can liaise with.
Maybe we'll start straight from that. Would you like to give them your numbers, Madam, at the police station?
078
078
44
44
36
36.
328.
Can you say it again, Madam?
078 44 36 328. You'll find me in room 67 CPS
In Kampala.
in Kampala.
You can also call the toll-free number that is free across all networks, 0800 111 222 or 0800 111 333. You can also call a direct line that will go to AMCAN, African Network for the Protection of Children Against Abuse and Neglect, 0414 254 550, and you ask for any counselor on call. You can also call Action for Children, 0414 54 1111. And on the lines, on the toll-free lines, you'll get counselors. On the other lines, you will also get counselors, but you'll also be able to get other support that you require for those children that are experiencing abuse.
Let's get to the questions from the callers. Are you happy with the way the court handles Madam Nakanda, for instance?
The court, I said, we were begging court to have a private, to have cases in Camilla. Because, court is a public place. If this girl was brought in court, she looked around and see very many men in court. Having had and
a bad experience with men.
Imagine all the men who are here actually will do the same. So we are still also saying court should also be lenient to these children, because court uses its own lenience. I mean, the magistrate has his own discretion. They were given that power. Then this other one who said that
even women do it. Is that common?
Actually, we were saying some of the things we are talking about are facts. We are not saying that all the women we are not also doing bad things. We are doing bad things, and we really, when we get them, we also speak about them.
What kind of bad things do women do sometimes? They rape young boys.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do.
The father was abroad, and the woman began teaching this boy at 13 years.
His own child?
Yeah.
Then the boy.
They initiated them even at 6 years.
She also complained. Then he talked about indecent dressing. We talked about culture. We didn't talk much. We didn't go extensively about culture. We have copied up Western culture. So many things, because even when they are taken to court, they will be saying, imagine how this girl was dressed. Any normal man wouldn't have left her.
That's what the man said.
But you know,
because the lawyer uses those words, and if they say, can you put that pen down? Can you pick it in the dose you are in? Sincere, if when she bends and the whole bum is up, the magistrate now will be lenient in his what? Making his judgment.
But you know, I find there are also cases of 3 months. I can understand for others, but how do you explain 3 months, 3-week-old baby?
Like
you had yes, in Matuga, 3 months, 5 months, 7 months. Those are not explained by indecent dressing. Those children. I actually remember a minister even saying, and you know, talking to a group of men, that men, if you are bathing your 5-month-old baby, do you actually
what are you looking for?
Do you get aroused?
You have to be mad in the first place.
I was in Matuga that time when this
exactly
3
months defiled.
3 months.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
The man said that the mother used to live that child in his care. That he picked interest because
the child would play with the legs.
Let's not. Some of these are madmen. Let's talk about. Can you tell a man who would do those things by looking at his face? Either the way they're not. Can you just look at a man and say this one is a defiler or an incestuous man?
Can you look at a man and know that this is a wife abuser? Would you tell?
Or a corrupt man?
A corrupt man. You would not tell. They all look the same.
Very decent.
Very decent. More than any.
They look more normal than another normal.
Gentlemen.
And you
like these other women who always on
the one who's
the mad women.
Yeah.
Gentlemen park their vehicles and sexually abuse them and get children back.
The women on the streets, the women who give coins.
Yes.
Men park their vehicles.
I told you that when the devil is around and you dress the way you are dressed, if it means that it is a time for me to have sex with anybody,
it's a spiritual
just have sex with anybody, he finds.
I just want to say something about the court system. I think the court system, the judicial system has let us down in terms of cases, and we are saying that we have been advocating for child-friendly court environments, where trials can be held in camera, where there will be social workers to support these lawyers in engaging in these cases, and where if I had a magic word, I would wipe out lawyers and bring in social workers. We need more social workers than lawyers, and for me that is my cry, because the lawyers will make a case go begging because they're trying
and sometimes they're not paid in time.
I think we need to get the judicial system, and my appeal is really to the Chief Justice. How can we make the court system
well, I've done it for the commercial courts, they can do it for the children.
They can do it for the children.
Let's talk about Save the Children and UNICEF. Are they doing some work very briefly?
A lot of work. They're doing a lot of work. UNICEF, Save the Children, World Vision, the big international organizations are all members of Uganda Child Rights NGO Network. And under it, we do collective action on key issues. We are working collectively on child sacrifice. They do not come out as individual organizations because collectively we make a difference. And I want to say that they are doing a lot of work in terms of responding to child abuse and also dealing with the cases that emerge through the network.
And as we go, the way the women dress, would you like to say give us one statement about the way they dress? Should they change the way they dress, or should they make it bolder?
No, these girls are putting on short things that even some of these men are offended. And the man will handle himself, will just come.
Some of them are already on hit. So
these girls should also dress up.
I saw a woman in the nightclub No, she doesn't even have panties underneath. And she's dancing closely with a man, and she's in the newspaper. We have to
I
go.
was just at Silk, I was on duty.
We have to go.
I found girls with short.
We have to go. Well, they don't even have panties. We have to go. Thank you very much, dear guys. Mrs. Stella Odong, Executive Director, Uganda Child Rights NGO Network. This is a very unique show we had tonight. Thank you very much indeed for coming to Spectrum. Assistant Superintendent of Police, Elizabeth Nakanda, Regional Child and Family Protection Officer, Central East African Region from the Ugandan Police. Thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, Edmond. Spectrum will be back tomorrow.
The Western Union Chuma Hour.